All right, Gluten Things. We're back. Ellie Hiller, JasonCFmedia. Dude, my bad. I'm sorry. I absolutely got you out of bed. You're supposed to be sleeping and recovering, and Ellie is supposed to be also. So
Recovering.
sorry, guys. My
No,
bad.
this is good.
Yeah.
This is fun.
How could I pass up this opportunity? I mean,
There you go.
Exactly. Same.
Real quick, Kenneth, got to give props. You guys have awesome thumbnails. Thank you. That's all me.
Yeah, it
Appreciate
is.
you.
Give my wife all the credit. It's true.
Appreciate you.
That's what she
Appreciate you.
does.
That's my job. I know my role.
Yeah, she just, I'm not good at anything. Like, I can't do it, so she does all of it. But girl, got to watch you in the first event. Didn't get to watch you in the second event. So sad. I love you guys, but I'm here because Ellie is so attractive.
Wild zombie coming in hot.
It's the smoky eye.
yeah.
So does that mean
It's
she?
the smoky eye. Where's Trish? She'll be back and she'll
Yeah.
talk about your
Exactly.
smoky eyes.
It was really just smeared mascara. I hadn't taken a shower yet, but glad she thought it was cool.
You were next to Neely, and so we got to see you for that entire first event with the double unders, the front squats. That was the one that you wanted to do the best in. I thought you were fire until it like what was that pacing like? Because it was kind of the same thing as the first event. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's okay. Before that, I didn't even realize until like this weekend how every single workout is leg heavy. And so like literally every workout, and some people might argue that a little bit, but the legless rope climb workout was a lower body workout for most people just because you have so much recovery between rope climbs. So I like doing event 2. In training I had done the front squats unbroken every time, and then I get to the last bar and like literally at 7 I made eye contact with my dad, and he knows nothing about CrossFit, and I saw how worried he looked, and I was like, oh shoot, I need to drop the barbell because that must look really really hard. So I dropped it, and then it took me forever to pick it back up. But yeah, I didn't plan on breaking it. Just like my legs were shot. So just
from the
run.
very beginning, from like the beginning, or it was kind of the same thing as event number 1 where you felt really good until you didn't feel good.
It was a cumulative effect from the run. So it wasn't really even the front squats. I mean, yeah, I had already done 40 at that point, and so it made it tough. But I just woke up this morning hurting, like my hamstrings, my quads, everything. But it ended up being okay. It was just I went into that workout and the event 3 being very conservative. My coach was like, hey, we're not going to really take risks anymore, which is what I wanted to do. But with how it went in event 1, I was like, I'm just going to play it safe, broke the toes to bar more than I wanted. So really those front squats just came down to I rode that red line probably just way too close and had to break it. And then a girl called. I mean, there was a girl, like I slid into the finish mat. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Yeah.
I saw it.
And I almost had her, but like I was 7 reps in before she even touched the barbell. So that's how slow it took me to get those last 3. So it just was kind of sucked, but I'm glad I gave it a shot. So
Kenneth the lab. Jason, you want to address this? Jason lives off CrossFit and discontent. It's either very late or very early where he is.
Yeah. I mean, and that's true because it's one of those things where it's technically ticked over to tomorrow, so it is very early, but also very late.
Yeah.
So,
I did want to ask you, Jason, if you JR did say something about how sneaky the first 3 events were for legs. Like she just said it was very leg heavy and she didn't realize it was going to be as leg heavy as it was. Did you see any of that? Do you?
well, I actually was going to ask Ellie that. Obviously, it's the 3rd week, right? So you've had like a lot of opportunities to watch the workouts to see how how others have attacked them, and you've probably had some strategies in mind, seeing all of that. But as you said, you weren't aware quite how leg heavy it was, and I think the commentary has done I was gonna say a good job. I don't know, a job of mentioning that quite often, that, you know, this workout looks like blah blah blah, but don't forget they've already done, you know, the run, or they've already done all these toes bar. Has it affected your strategies a lot in sort of, oh, actually, you know, when I looked at that workout in isolation, I hadn't taken into consideration everything that was going to have happened just before?
Yeah, it really did. I don't think anyone, unless you're just an animal, I don't think anyone trained the running workout in the way that it actually felt. It's just really hard to push it as hard as I think everyone did. And so we didn't really expect to wake up sore from that. Because in training, I went hard, but I was never sore from the running workout. And so competition just brings a level of intensity that I wasn't at least prepared for. And so, yeah, it's really all legs. Everything else feels good. And then also little things like the box we jump over is really, really wide. And so, it also adds a little bit of a difficulty to the box jump over. So those were slower, at least for me. So, and you try to simulate it in training. You try to turn the box long ways, but those boxes are even bigger. So it was pretty leg heavy for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see Adler got his foot stuck on the box at one point?
Yeah, he did. And then Travis Mayer, well, he was, he's at the same camp I go to, and I was warming up the box jumps, and he was telling me that he got a lot of no reps for, or a few for stepping on the line, because it's a really narrow lane. So if you're going on the edge of the box so that you can swing your leg around, your back leg, which is what we all probably train because it's faster, you're probably going to hit the line. And so that added a component too of not being able to swing your leg around. So he was warning me about that. And he also told me he got a lot of no reps for stepping down. And then before his second leg hit the floor, he was moving his box forward, and they were calling no reps for that. So little things like that I don't think anyone thought would be a no rep. Yeah,
I think that's what happened to Dallin.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounded like it looked like that was more what happened with Dallin.
Yeah, that happened. Dallin, someone told
For
me
his no reps, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so on the very final, like his no, it wasn't his final round. It was the round just before.
Yeah, or just before. Yep.
And it looked like he stepped down and grabbed the box to move the box forward, and he got no repped. He did another one, and then basically the same thing happened. I rolled it back, and it's like a fraction of a second to be like, oh, had the second foot hit the floor, had it not, it was a really kind of, I think another judge might have called it a different way, whatever. But fine, he did a good job to get it back. I think the problem is then what happened between him and Roman at the very end.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen Pat Vellner's comment on CrossFit's video, but
hilarious. Yeah.
What happened? I didn't see the end of it.
So basically, Roman jumped off on the final rep, and it was a foot race to they basically both slid across the line, and he beat Dallin by like fractions of a second.
Oh shoot! And they didn't call it a no rep.
But they didn't call it a no rep, and it's like, okay. And the comments on the live stream were just going off, everybody going on about this no rep, and you're kind of like, well, the judge didn't call it. He's crossed the line now. It's it is what it is. Nothing's going to change.
But they also
then CrossFit are like posting up this amazing photo finish and like, oh, it's so incredible. And also Roman said in the interview, I didn't make a mistake. Like basically that's why Dallin he made some mistakes and that cost him.
I got the wrong one.
But also too, like if you watch Sevon's, which that's all I literally watch podcasts all day. That's pretty much what I'm doing at this point. But I guess Dallin, when he stepped off one in the last round, and I don't know, Ellie, you can tell us this. Taylor said that you guys were briefed that you can't put your foot outside the white line.
You can't even step on the line. Yeah.
So Dallin did that at the same time that Roman jumped off the box.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much 2 no reps at the same time.
Yeah. It evens out. Yeah. Even though it sucks both ways. And also it's kind of like the judge is on one side of the box. So you can kind of game it a little bit. My coach was saying, like, do box jumps facing the judge. and then they're not gonna be able to really see if you step on the line or not. I didn't have anywhere I stepped on the line, but it's hard to make that call if you're standing a certain way in relation to your judge. They probably didn't even see it.
God, Brandon, you're Brandon Lecoq. Your name. You're such my favorite. You and Extra Sloppy. Wild Zombie, Jason, spot on. As always, because that's what Jason does. Kenneth the Lab, 2 wrongs don't make a right. For
No,
sure.
2 wrongs
No,
do make
do
a right.
make a
2 wrongs do make a right. Oh yeah,
2
negative,
wrongs.
negative is a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to pull the comment down at the same time I am?
I am not.
Oh,
I will now.
Okay, thank you.
No, I was not touching
I
anything.
will just say, off topic, but Roman is genuinely one of the nicest people there, and he has every reason to be cocky and not nice. But there were 3 times that he was in the warm-up area and he got off his bike when he was cooling down so I could use it to warm up, like, because you're kind of standing there waiting, and he probably did this for a lot of other people, but like, you're waiting for a bike and it's kind of like some people are cooling down, some people are warming up, and like he like was actively seeking out people to like let use the bike. Like, it was just, he's so kind. Like, I just have to say that he's such a nice person. So
Gentle giant.
Gentle giant.
Gentle.
yeah.
I mean, I quite liked the interaction between him and Dad. Like, it was nice. You know, there was something, because quite often there's almost nothing, and that's what people have really enjoyed with, like, the, you know, Taylor versus the World and all the stuff that's and like everything Colton's done recently. It was like, oh, a bit of personality, great. That's what we've been missing.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice, and, you know, coming from Roman is probably one of the people you least expect it from, just because of, you know, the language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Did you speak with him, Ellie?
I tried. He couldn't. I don't think he knew what I was saying because I talk really fast. But I was just like, "Thank you so much," and I was like, "That was so sweet." He probably didn't want to hear that, but that's what I said. So, but he's really nice. His translator just follows him around everywhere, but she didn't even try to translate. So,
well, when you watch him,
speak too fast even for the translator. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just think it's a thing because I talk really fast too, especially when people don't understand English. I have to slow myself down too.
Okay, wait.
Oh shit! I forgot what I was gonna ask.
Okay, good, because I want to ask you this. You were really happy about the front squat workout, the double unders toe to bar front squat workout, because you wanted to show how much you've been training strength, and you wanted it to show up there. And I think it did. Did you feel like you might have paced it wrong, and that's why you had to put the barbell down on the last round? Like, what made you put the barbell down on the last round?
I think it was really just my legs from the day before. Like, my core was fine. I was breaking toes to bar because my grip was getting a little fried. Like in training, y'all know those frog grips? Have y'all seen those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, they're amazing. And I use those in training. And so my grip, I didn't feel anything on my grip. And then I jumped up on the warm-up bar with the frog grips and they just didn't stick well. So I switched and I was like, oh shoot, like this makes it a lot harder not using those. Cause you literally don't even, like, they just stick when you use frog grips. So I think that kind of threw me off a little bit. And that was on me. But yeah, when I dropped the barbell, I was just at failure. So I don't really think I could have paced it much better. I was like 2 minutes off my training time, which was kind of annoying, but I pretty much gave it all I had at the end. So
do you feel like, because I know we talked about this on the first show before you even got to semi, where we talked about, you know, the events are written the same, but they're not executed the same. So every single run at each semi has been different. So obviously, you know, they're not going to have necessarily like the closest times or the biggest effects. Now yours, you had that steep hill, and you talked about it a lot yesterday, about that one steep hill the minute that you come out. Do you feel like that is a big reason as to why your legs are as blown up as they are, and you feel them way more like in your hamstrings than you have in training?
yeah, and I was talking to a bunch of other competitors too, and everyone was kind of willing to say, whether they're lying or not, everyone was willing to say that their legs were hurting. But I think the hill impacted our calves a little bit more. Did y'all see how some people were jumping on the Dollimer mat and some people were jumping on the actual starting mat?
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting because jumping on the Dollimer mat, which is what I did for about 4 rounds, it actually like really blows up your quads because your calves, I'm sorry, because you're absorbing so much of that like cushion. Like, yeah, you jump higher, but you're having to absorb a lot more of that bounce or whatever it is. And so my calves were like blown up. So I moved on round 4 back to the starting mat to try and see if it would help. And my calves it didn't help. So then I moved back to the mat. But I think that calves blew up on a lot of people that I talked to after as well. And then the hill, I think you feel it in your calves more than your quads even. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna take him out for a second to see if he can jump back in. I'll wait and see if he. But okay, so I remember them talking about that with Jason Hopper when Jason Hopper he did that. He was the one that started in the front where he had the like cushion mat.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else started to kind of move around. Like you saw people start to move behind the starting mat, in front of the starting mat. Oh, well, Wild Zombie. I'm sorry, bro, but
Hey, Wild Zombie, where's my reel? If you're saying all this, give me a reel. I'm kidding.
Jason, you look like you had something to say. Were you about to start beforehand? Before I
go off on Mod Zombie for being happy that I was out of it.
Yeah.
After I went and found my Ariel Owen card and put it in the background just for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, now I'm gonna put it down there. No, what was I gonna say? No, I was I was listening and then my camera started flickering, so I changed.
Colt Mertens, baby.
Yep.
There you go. No, I was just thinking when Colleen started talking about the different setups at the different events, and you know I'd been thinking a lot about that recently because they constantly kind of bang on about, well, actually this would have been, you know, this time in this region, or this would have been this. I mean, I was actually thinking about it this week because, you know, Adler on event 1 said, oh, I could, you know, he was planning to go like sub 20 and then realized he didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking, you know, when they were talking about like Serkaya and her score coming out of Asia, and it's like, well, if, you know, a win's a win. So if she can win at that pace, she's not going to push the pace any faster. So it kind of, once then they start doing these comparisons, it doesn't make sense. So I've been thinking a lot about that. I hadn't thought about the effect that the run would actually have on the other events, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when Colleen said that, I was like, oh, actually, it's quite interesting because, yeah, if you're, you know, running on a nice flat surface, or if you're running up a hill, it's going to have, you know, especially doing it that many times, it's going to have
well, that's, you know, that's why I was always, it's one of the bigger questions for me. Like, I know as an athlete, Elle, I'm sure for you, like, you're like, thank God we get to go outside. Thank God we're not inside the entire time. So I know the event from an athlete's perspective is like, okay, it gives it almost a little bit of a games feel. Like, you get out of the stadium, you come back into the stadium, there's the crowd, you're by yourself. But you said there's a crowd outside. So it was a very different, like, fun environment. But as a spectator and someone that's watching, and I'm not the numbers person, but I'm sure the numbers and the analytics and all that stuff, you know, those brains are probably getting pissed off or whatever because the numbers aren't necessarily accurate because each run was different. So that's where that question comes in. Like, if you're doing a semi and the events are all the same, should the equipment all be the same as well, including a run, including what if it's a flat run for one, it's got to be a flat run for the other. You know what I mean? Like, so I wonder if that's kind of a big question that is going on with like the numbers guys, you know, the analyst guys that like obsess about those numbers because they are significantly different, I guess you could say but from an athlete's perspective, I'm sure you were like, get me outside. I don't want to be inside.
It's so worth it. It was so cool being able to run back into the stadium. Like, you start feeling the cool, when you run through the bay doors, you start feeling the cool air, and then you're like not tired anymore. And then you run out and you feel tired again. But it's such a cool experience that a lot of us won't get, like you said, unless we make it to the games. Mm-hmm. So I'll take that all day. And assault runners are just boring. I'm sorry, but I don't want to see like someone's hand going up and just counting down. Like, that's just not fun. We have enough of that with eco bike, rowing, and all that.
Yeah. Okay, back to event 2. Sorry.
All right. Oh, were you happy with that? Did that show? I mean, I know you said that you were 2 minutes off, but were you happy with that that finish? I was happy because you were next. You were like in the lane next to Neely, and we got to see you. So I
Yeah.
was super happy. I was like, yes. You like, it's like rooting for your kid, I guess. I don't know. Like it's that it is. It's like that feeling of like, oh, there's somebody in this lane, like, yes, let's go, girl. And you find yourself shouting in the middle of work, like, let's go.
Oh,
But
thank you.
were you happy with that?
I was coming off. I was pretty down on myself after the first event, and so being able, I mean, that's my best finish so far, which is not what I thought, but yeah, I was really happy with it to go in and not go out too hot, but then also not be too conservative. I was happy with it, and I knew Lexi was going to have a top time. I've competed with her at Crash, and I've competed with her at Atlas Games when I went 2 years ago. And I knew she would crush that event. Honestly, I don't know if she had a top 5 time, but it was up there if not. And so I was kind of like, don't try to chase her like I did with Brooke, and just stayed in my own lane. So, yeah.
Wad Zombie, I almost made a reel of Ellie this morning, but TTT only had her for 2 seconds on there. Oh, well, yell at your people.
Put it on loop like all the CrossFitters do. All of our videos. I've never done that.
Let me ask this question real quick. Jason, close your ears because this is like a girl thing real quick. But Sevon like was trying to ask it, and I kind of understand what he was trying to ask. Why would on that workout, so 10 calorie echo bike, one leg, or no, sorry, the double under.
The double unders.
The
100.
double under, the 100 double unders, 100 double unders, Jesus. 20 toe bar and 10 front squats, 5 rounds for time. Why would a woman wear 2 sports bras?
Okay, truly, okay, depends on who you are, but in my mind, like 2 sports bras honestly make it worse. I think.
Oh.
Like truly, because then it just like pushes everything up. Okay, if you're trying to be conservative, I think it makes it worse. But if you're trying to just like feel secure, it helps. But I don't know. Haley Adams I didn't notice that, or sorry if I've said whoever it was. But yeah, I don't know. I think it mattered more honestly on event 3 with the box jumps. Like, because I had a sports bra on, and then I put a shirt on after the warm up because I was like, this is gonna be bad. So instead of 2 sports bras, I just like put this kind of shirt on. So I don't think it would have. I don't think it.
So not for the double unders, but for the box jumps, really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just felt like it was worse because I don't know. Maybe it was just the sports bra I was wearing, but I was like, no.
All
so
right.
yeah, I mean double unders. Yeah, double unders are gonna be bad all around, but to me, like the box jumps, you just don't want to be messing with a bra while you're on jumping.
All right, sorry, Jason. Okay, now come back. 7 rounds for time, 10 calorie echo bike, 1 legless rope climb, 10 box jump overs, 1 legless rope climb. Obviously, it was only 13 legless rope climbs. We got to see you a little bit in that.
Yeah,
How was that? Jacked up?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I did better than my training times, and I will tell y'all, those new Echo bikes, have y'all tried one of the new ones?
Well, maybe for a second. I think Jet has them at Cheap Nation, so I think for a little bit. Yeah.
Jason, you got them?
I mean, just the Rogue Echo bike, yeah.
When but it's like the skinnier.
How is it new? I'm trying to think. We've got the ones. So we've got the ones at our box that they used at FitFest in at the end of last year. So potentially they're the newer ones. I'm not sure, but I don't like them. I mean, I don't like any of those bikes, but the Echo bike is terrible. It's much like the old bike. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're new. I know Training Think Tank like just got one because they're brand new, but they use them at the competition, and they give you more RPMs for the same effort. So like the only difference is that it's 64 was what I was holding in training, 64 RPMs. Went out there and in the warm-up area, I was like, wait, why does 66 RPMs feel like 64 with how tired I feel? The only difference is that it jumps around a lot. So like it's pretty easy to hold a steady cadence on the old Echo bikes. Like I can stay at 64 pretty easily, but if you barely let off for like even the slightest, it'll go from 66 to 60 RPMs or 59. So it's a little bit more jumpy, but I will say I think it gives you calories faster. It takes a little longer to get to the first calorie, but after that, I think that's why a lot of people's times were a little bit quicker.
So were you a little bit more conservative on the first couple rounds, and then that was the plan to slowly start to get a little bit faster as you got later in the event?
Yeah, I was gonna pick it up on the last like 2 rounds, and I think I probably did a little bit on the last 2 for the last 5 calories of each round, but I just was so scared of failing a rope climb because they're being really strict about like slapping the beam. Like if you touch it with your fingertips, they're probably gonna no rep you. And they told us that in the briefing. They were like, make it very evident before you clamp your legs, like leave a chalk mark essentially on the cross beam. So I was just pretty nervous because if you miss a rope climb, the workout is over for you. It's completely over. So I think I held back a little bit just to make sure that I wouldn't miss one.
I'm just curious, like, and Jason, please speak to this too. Like, for men, I think I saw more women not put their hands on the bike, like to start out with, to kind of save their grip or whatever. And I didn't see too many men do that. Is it just, and forgive me, the thickness of the handlebars of the bike? Is it just easier for like men's hands are bigger, so that grip doesn't matter as much for men as it does for women? Maybe.
I mean, maybe, but you could take that across then to the rope as well, couldn't you? So it's going to be exactly the same. Like, I mean, that's probably an interesting element to think about, is that all of those things that are taxing your grip are probably taxing it slightly less for the men anyway. But then they've got more weight that they're usually hanging from the bar or pulling up the rope as well. So it all evens out. But I think it's just I think the workout is probably quite different for the men and the women based on, thinking about how much they can move the bike comparatively. So for a lot of them, they knew that they wanted to get through those calories. They probably weren't as concerned about, like Ellie saying about failing a rope climb. They probably, I mean, what's interesting is we saw a lot of people that it seemed to be more just the sort of the length of the event. Like towards the end, they were just tired, but it wasn't like, I mean, like Jack Farlow looked, I mean, I was worried when I saw him get off the bike at one point, but he's still climbing the rope. He didn't look like he was struggling up the rope. He just looked like he was struggling to walk to the box or to get back on the bike. But the actual movements were, it seemed fine. But I think it is a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's one rope climb and then one rope climb and then one rope climb. But as I said, if you once that goes, that's like that's game over, right? So you've got to be conservative just to make sure that you don't fail one. I also was thinking, they kept mentioning like how many times Hayley Adams was chalking up her hands, but then Ellie's comment about them saying like leave a chalk mark. I was thinking maybe that's all she's doing it for. It's not the grip.
Making
it's just
sure.
Make sure they see that she slaps the top of the bar.
Yeah,
could be.
Were you worried about that?
I don't know if y'all saw my Instagram, but
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no! I was just saying, one of my friends that was there, I didn't even notice this. I had a piece of chalk on this side and on this side, and she took a picture, and it looked really bad. But she was like, "What are you doing?" And I didn't like. I was like, "Okay, have chalk everywhere." I didn't even end up using those two. But yeah, I mean, it was. You didn't need as much chalk as I think we thought we did. But by the end of that, it almost was like they cut the air conditioning off, or maybe it was just me. But I was sweating so much more in that one than I was in any other workout. So. I don't know. It felt a little different. Maybe there were just more people in the auditorium.
Was the biggest thing you were worried about your grip, or was it about like your? Oh, sorry. All right, fine. We'll go through all of these. Hold on. We'll do comments real quick. Wad Zombie, just because that's funny. Oh, now, hey, what do you?
I'm not doing anything, but I will.
Does Ellie know what she's wearing tomorrow and then it goes on for performance purposes is why I ask.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that yet. Yeah, I'll TBD. Tune in.
I don't even know how you were in a long sleeve shirt today.
That was also a last minute. I was wearing a bra for that one, but I didn't have a second bra like Hayley did. And so I was just like, I'm just going to put a long sleeve shirt on. But also, I think it ended up being good because people's barbells were slipping off of their chest because they were so sweaty. So it actually ended up being good.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead, Daniel Garrity. Sevi
Oh,
will love how she says chalk
How do I say chalk?
with the W,
Chalk.
not chalk, chalk.
talk.
I'm from Alabama.
Where was I know you had mentioned yesterday about a judge's placement, you know, with ropes to make sure that there's no reps. Was your judge in a position where like she could see it? Were you slapping on the front? Were you making sure you slapped on the back of the rig where your judge could see it? Did they kind of change that up, or did you have the other one where they were in the back, but you had to slap on the front of the rig?
How many judges were out there? Because I felt like there were like 3 judges for each person. Like, were there 2 per lane?
I think 2
Did you
per
all know?
lane
Yeah, you had one for box jumps and then one for the rig and
for the
double
rig
under.
and the bike.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should know that. But yeah, no, she was behind my bike. So I didn't really think much of it. I was like, I'm just going to at least make a noise so that she can hear it. But I think most of the time I was able to hit on her side. And thankfully I didn't get a no rep. But I did have to appeal on that workout because I did an extra box jump and they gave me the appeal. So that helped. They've been pretty good about appeals from what I know. So they're pretty good about it.
Oh, you got a no rep?
No, I didn't get a no rep. I just, on my first round, you know how you're ending up on the side of the box where you can push it forward? That's where you should end up.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up on the other side of my box and I was like she counted. I think she spoke a different language. Like, she was a great judge, but I really couldn't understand what she was saying. So I did 11 and then I just went to the appeals counter and they were really nice and they gave me back like 2.07 seconds, which it ended up not helping me because the other girl was like 20 seconds behind me. But I mean, I'll take it. So they were good about that.
Jason, what you got?
Oh no! I mean, initially I was going to ask why you did an extra. I was curious to know if you'd been told you had to do another one, but you answered the question so I just sat and let you finish speaking, and it answered my question. But yeah, that's all I had. I'm just taking it all in.
I'm just taking it all in.
She was nice. She was like, yeah, definitely go appeal that. I was like, okay, thanks.
Oh, she said to go and appeal it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, hey, do you know why I ended up on the other side of the box? Like, did I get a no rep? I was just asking. And she was like, oh, it was definitely a miscount. You should go appeal that. And when I like walked up to the appeals counter, she was already there telling them. So it was pretty cool. She was nice to do that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Because it happens to me just when I'm training in general that like I'll realize sometimes that I've clearly miscounted because I'm on the wrong side of a barbell or of a box or something like that. And I'm like, no, this isn't right. I should be on the other side. So, and of course, I always do an extra one to make sure that I haven't done one too few. But it's interesting to see, that these things spill over into competition as well. There you go.
Yeah. And sometimes they count on the top of the box, and sometimes people count like when you land. Same thing for like a burpee over the bar. Like I get really thrown off if some people count when your chest hits the floor, and some people count when you jump over the bar, and so then it just like really throws off my count. So it's kind of like that.
What how are you feeling now? Yesterday you like your whole body shut off and you couldn't eat and you couldn't talk and you couldn't do anything. Like, is that did you recover? Are you good after 2 events today? Because the other like literally 50% of the weekend is tomorrow. So
well, yeah. Well, it's funny. Last night, a lot of things happened, but it was my heart rate at 12 p.m. Like 12 p.m. at night was 134. Like I could not get my heart rate down. And I think it was a product of just how I tried to recover, but after the first event, I went straight to the ice bath, and I probably should have jumped on a bike and let my heart rate come down. So I did it opposite today, and I feel great. But my heart rate just wouldn't come down, and I took a Unisom to try to sleep. Didn't help. And this house right across the street from us, they were throwing a rager. Like I'm not even kidding. I have white noise on 100% on my sound machine and on my phone. And all night it was like bass all night. So
jeez.
Literally I didn't sleep at all. And then at like 3 a.m. I wake up and the fire alarm is going off in our Airbnb. And my husband is like, I wake up and he's like naked trying to fix the fire alarm. And I'm like, what is happening? And so he stuffs the fire alarm in his bag and like shoves it in a kitchen counter, and it just kept going off all night, but that's as good as we could do. So it was a pretty, all things considered, with everything last night, I barely slept. I'm pretty happy with how I feel today. So
Oh, thank goodness.
yeah, and there's a bunch of cars out there right now, so I think they're going for round 2, unfortunately.
Oh
Can
my
you
God.
appeal
It's just,
that?
Huh?
Can you appeal that? You take that to them and say, look, guys, I mean,
I'm literally just
given
gonna
a
go
few
knock.
extra seconds on each of these workouts because this is what's happening.
I don't know. I saw people walking in with a bunch of like ice bags and beer, and I was like, no, not round 2. So, but it's okay. I'm happy with how I feel, and I feel much better today after I did it yesterday.
so most of us, like we look at you and we watch you do these events and whatever, and people who just regularly go to the gym and just want to be healthy and fit, and we watch you guys and we're like, holy crap, I can never do that. Like I watched you do toes to bar today, and when you broke, I was like, yeah, I totally get it. Like I would break on one. Like I do singles. It's fine. You know what I mean? When you see the top 10 go, like when you see Tia Claire Toomey go and you see Haley Adams go and you see them go, is that kind of the same difference in levels when you look at them go? And you know what I mean? Because we look at you, us regular human earth people look at you like you're a deity. When you look at them, is that
I was talking to, I introduced myself to Matt Torres, and we were talking, and I was like, man, it gives you so much perspective competing with these top 10 girls, because like we're pushing ourselves to the max, and to be anyone who makes it here, like obviously we know you're fit, but they're on the top 10, top 12, honestly here I would say top 15. They're just on a different level, and I don't say that to be self-deprecating. It's just insane how good they are, because anywhere else, like some of these workouts I would do really well in, and then here it's like not even middle of the pack. And so it just gives you a ton of respect. Like these girls are, you watch it on TV and you're like, wow, that's amazing, they're really fit. And then it's another thing to go compare your time in the exact same setting to them and be like, how the heck would I get any faster? And they're beating me by 3 minutes. So it is so impressive. So impressive. Yeah.
But when you consider that, like, so there's 11 spots for the games. So that's basically guaranteeing that at least 11 people there are games athletes. Add to that maybe the people that won't qualify that have already been to the games. So you've got this massive pool of people that are already games caliber or are going to, punch their ticket, to quote the very used phrase on the stream. But I mean, you're there as well, and it feels like a lot because it's like, oh, top 11, but it's also only 40 people that make it this far,
Right.
which is still putting you in like a super high kind of percent, that category that you've reached. It's interesting watching the semifinals kind of globally, and some of the, as I was looking at a post from one athlete in Africa, and like their goals for some of the workouts are very modest in comparison. Like it's sort of, oh, I don't think I'll finish this one, but I hope to get this far through, kind of thing. And you're thinking, and you're the top 40 in all of Africa, and that's your goal. Whereas, you're finishing and you're like, okay, they're finishing, a minute faster than me, 2 minutes faster than me, but you're still there. Like, yes, they're faster, but it's not. I mean, caliber wise, there is this, this gap, right, just between certain regions where we are sending someone to the games, and maybe that one or two people, they can kind of hold their own at the games, we hope. But it's still got to feel good, sort of just being on the floor with these people, knowing that you've earned your spot there.
100%. Yeah. And it really hurts. It really stings to know some girls are not going to make it in North America East that anywhere else they would make it. Like it really hurts me seeing how good everyone is here. Not to dog on some of the other regions, but like, doesn't Africa get 3 spots?
No, they get 1.
Oh,
Oh,
one.
is it one?
Was it Asia who gets 3?
Asia gets 3.
Okay. Yeah, and
What does
like
Brazil get? Real quick.
3.
They get 3.
3.
3?
oh man, it just hurts me. Like maybe they are good enough to have 3 spots, but I'm like, there's games level athletes here that are in the first heat, and I'm just like, what? So I don't know. I know it's all relative, and like some people are having a bad weekend, but I don't know. And especially just the difference between West and East. It's just like, man, some of the comparative times, like what 7th place would be on that legless rope climb workout in the West is like, or the opposite. What 7th is here is like really high up in the West. I don't know. My coach was showing me some stat, and I'm just like, man, it sucks. Some really fit people are going to miss out just because it's so hard.
Well, then do you think that there should only be one semi? And
I mean,
all of the athletes have to go to one semi, or
And they
yeah,
just,
and it exposes you more. If you have a big hole, you're going to get 60th instead of 40th or whatever it is, like 80th, right?
Mhm.
So I think like some people are getting away with a 35th, 40th finish that still might qualify. Like Anna Kagreer got 35th in that workout, and like she should make the games. I think she's fit enough. But it doesn't. You can have one really, really bad event that's essentially last place and still possibly make it. But if the field is so big where you're getting an 80th place, like you can't recover from that.
Mm.
So I don't know. I think it would be good. I think it'd be good. Everything's the exact same standard, but
okay, real quick. Wad Zombie, I usually don't make reels of married women, but I'll make an exception. Kenneth the Lap, I appreciate Wad Zombie, good dude. Yeah, fair. Bernie Gannon, 11 of 40 is top 27.5. And then my question would be then, does that mess with your mind? Like you're this fit, you're this good, you're up against these top 10, 11 women that are just the top echelon basically of CrossFit. But there's a bunch of you that you have this top fitness, but because of what semifinals looks like or the structure of semifinal, does that mess with you? Do you go home and like now, or could that mess with you? Could that make like a young girl who's, I mean, you have an amazing head on your shoulders, but a young girl that goes home that really is that fit, that could that mess with her? Is she now like, I suck and I'm never going to be able to do this?
yeah. I mean, as much as I kind of act like I don't care, like maybe I don't come across as I don't care, but I feel like I have a good balance and a perspective to this. But even for me, like I've struggled this weekend being like a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, do I belong here? Oh, these girls are so good. And then I even think about people like Haley and Danielle and just some of the other people in the top 5 and how amazing they are. And then even the gap between Tia and them, like Tia's won every event, right? And so I'm sure you look at it and you're like, man, I'll never get on her level. Is this a fruitless endeavor, even though they're top 5? But it really does weigh on you. It's like you're comparing to, regardless of if you're 27th fighting for a top 12 or if you're 5th trying to win the whole thing. It's all relative, and it really is hard. But at the end of the day, I don't think, someone always told me, I forgot who told me this, but they're like, people aren't watching you as much as they think you are. And so at least for me, it's like my family, no one really knows like how, if I'm doing bad relative to the field. Like they obviously see me if I explode, but no one's going to remember my placement. And so it just fires me up more to go compete and like get rid of these tiny like controllable errors. And then wherever my fitness shakes out after that, I'm happy. It's just hard to be happy when like you make an execution error or you blow up and didn't pace things right. That's where I think it gets mentally to be a big challenge, where you're like, you can get down in the dumps about it, at least for me. So.
Jason, handle this because you're smart. Bernie Gannon smart. So having athletes from all areas of the world is probably considered good for the growth of the sport. Africa, Asia, South America might never get a spot. So is giving Asia and Africa and like all these other areas extra spots good for the sport? And so we just have to suck it up.
Well, I don't know if giving them extra spots is good. Definitely they need a spot, like absolutely. And And it is interesting because what you'll see is as soon as a country gets an athlete to the games, it does sort of give a spike to other athletes in that area. I mean, even within Europe, like I think about Elisa Fuliano that qualified 3 years ago, and then this year there were quite a few Italians that had made it semifinals, and it's like, you know, suddenly, and if you look at CrossFit in Italy, it seems to be going, you know, bigger and better than ever because they've had someone now. She's going for the third year now to the games, and then you look over like in Asia. So like on Monday, I'm speaking with this this athlete that's the first ever Filipino athlete to go to semifinals as an individual, and like if you watch the live stream, they're going crazy for her. Like all these Filipinos on the live stream cheering her on because it's like, oh, finally we're getting representation there, and that will motivate them to, you know, to try, and it will help grow CrossFit globally. Whether they need multiple spots, it's all a little bit linked to like the way they've done the calculation this year. And I always feel, and this is, I asked this at a press conference once and it was never really addressed, but the whole strength of field calculation, it's all begun from already like a skewed number of people, because it, you know, when they did the initial strength of field, it was like, well, games spots use certain strength and then semifinals and so on and so forth. It's like, yeah, but you already had mostly Americans at the games.
Mm-hmm.
So the field was already stacked for Americans. So then when you start doing the calculation, obviously it's much stronger there. And that's sort of never been addressed. So, I mean, I don't know. I think a couple of spots for some of the smaller places that are up and coming, just to really motivate them. Europe, you know, they lost a spot this year, and I don't think should have lost a spot really. That field was stacked, and like their performance at quarterfinals showed that, and a lot of the times they put up at semifinals showed, you know, how strong they were. I don't know. I'd combine South America and one of the, like, if you combine South America and North America and then had two, but in a different, sort of divide up in a different way, maybe that would sort of solve one of those issues. I don't know. But what somebody says, can they increase the amount of athletes at the games? So
That's a good point.
I'd go in the opposite direction. I've thought about this today, so I haven't really thought it through fully. But what if you went back to like a 5-week open, but it was gated? So the first 3 weeks were like for everyone, and then the second 2 weeks were basically what quarterfinals were. So you had to qualify to do the final 2 weeks. Of course, people can do the workouts if they want, but if you want to actually submit your score, you need to be in the top, 25% to do that. And then quarterfinals could be sort of what semifinals are now, and then that moves to semifinals, and then you're taking maybe just the top 20 worldwide to the games, and the games becomes a real kind of
like a small.
Yeah.
So take more
field.
people to semifinals.
Yeah, and semifinals becomes a more should be more prestigious for each region. I mean, I think that anyway. Like in any other sport, if you won the European Championship, that's incredible. That's such an achievement. Whereas, like, Laura Horvath was kind of like, nah, yeah, it is what it is, but it's it's just another step to the games, and you're kind of like, yeah, but this should be like important. A massive thing. So,
yeah.
Jody Lynn, hey, what's up? And then somebody wants to open a can of worms. Justin, I'm not going to try to say that, but nice picture. This might open a can of worms. How about more spots going into semis, but having cuts?
How would you feel about cuts, Ellie, considering like the efforts that you've gone through to be there?
Yeah, this might be not a big point to everyone else, but I think about, I don't know, you pay a lot of money to go to semis, right? And then the people that are not actually professional athletes like myself, who, have a job and all this stuff, it's like, I might lose a little bit of interest to want to compete if I know, all right, I'm devoting so much time and energy to it, and I'm probably going to go and compete for 2 days or maybe 1 day, right? But playing the devil's advocate, that might be good for the sport to weed out some of the non-professionals and I hate to say that because part of what I love about CrossFit is that people can really work their butt off who have a full-time job and come in and compete at one of the highest levels at semifinals. But if we want the sport to grow to the level of like tennis and all of these other golf, whatever, maybe semis does need to be way more competitive to where it kind of selects for someone who can only, act like a professional athlete. I don't know.
Ooh, hot
What-
take. Hot take.
I kind of hate
Dang.
saying that, but
No,
I get it. From
listen.
Well, I have
a
a.
perspective.
Go ahead, El. Go ahead.
No. That was it.
Well, because I was gonna say, and forgive me because I feel like the CrossFit Games and the process to get to the CrossFit games has changed about 100 times. So I'm probably mixing up like years and stuff like that. But they did something called like a last chance qualifier, right? At some point. What do you guys, Jason, you remember what year that was?
It was a couple of. I think is this year not the first year that we don't have it, or was last year the first year we didn't have it?
I think last year it was
Okay.
last year was the first year we didn't have it.
Because something along the lines of what Ellie's saying is that when you
Damn. No, it was a good
Wad-
hot take, Wad Zombie. It was a good
Wait,
hot-
who is Wad Zombie? I'm sorry. Has he revealed?
Yeah,
has he revealed his-
revealed himself to Jason.
You got to go check
Oh,
out.
hot take. He revealed himself to Jason.
Got to go check out
Dang.
Jason's.
Yeah, you gotta
you
go-
are.
You gotta go to
Plate stack.
JasonCFmedia plate stack.
Okay, I will.
So you're talking about if you had gone in and there were cuts, you after 2 days, for instance, or after 3 events, maybe whatever, that you would lose interest. And with all this money that you're spending, it would be for some people, maybe even not an interest to even go and try. Like they're going to say no from the beginning. So what if instead of doing a whole separate event for like a last chance qualifier, what if they did something where it was guaranteed that you have 10 spots? 10 spots are going. And then there's a last chance qualifier within the event for the last 1 or 2 spots. That way, you guys that are not guaranteed those tops that didn't make the top 10 to automatically get there, you still had 2 more spots to fight for. So you still have the fire to get those extra 2 spots so that you're not wasting your money. You're still in it until the very end. You're not tapping out after 2 events or 3 events, whenever the essentially cuts might be. So maybe if it's 30 athletes and there's only 10 guaranteed, maybe if by the end of event 2, you're not in the top 20, you can't fight for the top 10, but you can fight for the last 2 spots.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like something like that, where it's not this whole big different last chance kind of thing, but it still puts the fire under everybody to really like fight for those last couple spots. I don't know if it's possible, but that might be a fun, hot fucking fight.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good thought. I don't know, because there is just such a drop off, like we talked about, between some of the best of the best, and then the people that are, fighting with everything they have to make semifinals. So, or maybe it's a structure of like tennis does, where to make a Grand Slam, you've got to play a ton of different smaller tournaments and do really well to get your bid to the Grand Slam, which we could even say the Grand Slam would be like, not even the games, but a semifinals, because you have 4 Grand Slams. So we should have, like, in my opinion, a lot of, maybe like multiple semifinals still. And then it's very few get to the games, right? But it's almost like making a Grand Slam in general is like making the games. So
Interesting.
Before we get through tomorrow's events real quick, real fast, let me just ask you and Jason, Ellie, I've asked you before, but Jason, what do you think? And then Ellie, like you can, after today's events, you can say if you agree with what you thought yesterday, and maybe you changed your mind today. But what do you think about having for the judges on the floor to just have final say? Like that's it. There's no review process. There's nothing, just judges on the floor. It's the same kind of thing as any other sport. Like you just there's human error, right? So human error happens and you just suck that up.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's so many judges, and that's so many, and and a lot of heats and long days, and so it's very easy for there to be a lot of kind of wrong calls. And like it goes back to the the Dallin Roman thing. Like we're all saying, oh, Roman should have got the no rep on that last one, but then people have pointed out in the comments, well, actually maybe Dallin should have as well. So it's and I think it's one of the things where like it's always fascinating how they can, when you do appeal, how they'll kind of calculate a time and be like, oh well, it would have taken you this long. Because I like look at Ellie's example, like on the front squats, she's like, I'm going unbroken on these front squats, so let's say they have to work out something and be like, well, theoretically if you did 2 more it's going to take you this much time. Well, no, because actually when she gets there she drops the bar and decides it's going to take a long time to pick the bar back up. So I kind of feel like once things have happened, these retroactive ideas people have of like, well, this is how we're going to calculate how much time they would have got, or how it doesn't really work. And it's kind of, I mean, that's the nature of the sports side of CrossFit, right? Is that it isn't going to be fair, and there are going to be mistakes and errors, and you do just have to deal with it as you do in every other sport. Like famous examples of sort of bad calls where people have won massive events, and even though after you can see it clearly on video, it's like, well, what's done is done, and that's it, right? So I think that the problem within CrossFit isn't whether or not the judges have final say. It's just the inconsistency between judges. So if you're going to give them a certain level of power, great, but you've got to make sure that everyone that's exercising that power is doing it to the same degree with the same ability. But across multiple semifinals in different parts of the world with different volunteers, it's kind of tricky to, compared to maybe another sport where they've got just a couple of people monitoring a sport versus every individual athlete having, what did we say, 2 judges on one lane. So that's, there's a lot of potential for bad calls to be made, I guess, more so.
So I'm going to be able to just be like, hey, Dallin Pepper's my favorite. I don't care what that judge said. I love what he did. I don't give a crap if his foot was outside the line. It was like, I'll just yell for him. And then other people can just yell for Roman. Like, hey, I don't care. Roman, like whatever. Roman would have made it anyway. He would have won anyway. Like, and that's kind of the fun thing about it, right? Like you pick. I didn't go into the Heat 1 app and I was like, hey, let me make all these intellectual picks. I was like, who do I love? I love Ellie Hiller. I love Taylor Self. I love, Dallin Pepper, Jason Hopper. Like I love
Colton
Mertens. I'm picking everybody because that's where my heart's at. 99% of fans aren't like, oh, well, I have a really, they have a really strong shot at this shit. No, you're just like, I don't care what happens today. Ellie Hiller is going to be able to front squat 195 pounds 87 times. And I don't care. Like, it's just, that's.
Oh, you mean you don't pick them from a John Young perspective of like numbers and stats? And
no, absolutely not. Like,
and fight everybody.
I think we all just do that. And I think that makes sports fun.
100%. Like half of the people I loved growing up in tennis were the people that I had an emotional connection to because I just liked how they played or their attitude. And like, who's that tennis player? I don't know if you follow tennis, but he's like wild. He wears like cutoff shirts at Wimbledon. He smashes rackets all the time.
Oh no, you'd have to go back like 10 years for me to know who a tennis athlete was.
Oh,
I stopped watching it. What?
I think he's from England. I don't know. You're Kyrgios.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah, Kyrgios.
Nick Kyrgios or something. But like so many people, he's definitely not the best in the world. He's really good, but people just like love him because they connect to him emotionally or whatever. And so I get your point on that. Like people want to have drama. They want to have emotion. They want to have an athlete that they can relate to. So I get that.
Sure. I loved Andre Agassi because he was out there with the long mullet and he was dating what's her face. And like, I was just like, yes, Andre Agassi.
The girl from Friends. Yeah.
Friends, like, she was Steffi Graf. She was German. He married Steffi Graf. She was German, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and he dated some actress, Bridget or something. I forget who.
Brooke Shields.
Yes.
Brooke Shields. Like, yeah, you're a fan. I'm here for it. Win. Like, you know what I mean? Let's go.
That's a funny question that Bernie just asked.
Let's go. What did Bernie say?
I'm trying to help you, honey.
Bernie is also smart. Do athletes even play head games with judges? Oh, to try to intimidate? Oh,
That
No,
is
I've heard the opposite. I've heard the best thing to do is you go out and you befriend your judge, and that is the secret. So as soon as if you try to intimidate your judge, they will. That's when they're calling that really costly no rep as you're about to go over the line. If you are like friendly to them and treat them well, then they're more likely to.
Yep.
here I'll sign an autograph and take a picture and kiss babies, or like that.
Yeah, yeah.
judge.
Like what Zombie said. Or do they ever flirt with the judges?
Oh,
That is so funny. I honestly like I think everyone's going out there trying to be really nice to their judge. I mean, they told us in the corral, they're like, go shake your judge's hand. So everyone should be doing that. But I'm sure, like, we can't deny the fact that there are some judges who are judging superstars and some of the fiery girl superstars. And there's a component, I'm sure, of some judges being afraid of the wrath of some athletes. I'm just going to say that has to be the case in some instances. Because y'all have seen the death glares. Like, have y'all seen that before? And so it's funny to me how sometimes, like, maybe it was just West Coast Classic, they were wearing sunglasses because they were outside, but it like looked like some of them were legit trying to just cover up their complete identity.
hey, are there more female judges on the floor than male judges?
It seemed like it. There
'Cause
actually
I thought so too. And I was going to say, like, the alpha female athletes are going to intimidate female judges 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Like,
for
you
sure.
got a big CrossFit athlete out there that can lift, like, you know, whatever they can lift, and they get pissed off and fiery. Some of those other female, not a male judge, but that's just how women are. Like, you get it. Go ahead.
I feel like female judges are stricter. Now that I think about it, I don't think they give a crap, especially if it's a girl. And maybe you're saying that.
No, I think they're stricter to dudes because they know that dudes aren't going to yell at them back, because that would not be correct.
Yes.
But if another female athlete yells at them back, they might just be like, oh shit, it's whoever.
Mhm.
Like, I know Tia, I'm just throwing names out there. It's not Tia, but Tia Claire Toomey, or if like Haley yelled, and she doesn't, but if they yelled at them, they might like shrink a little bit and be like, oh shit, I don't want to piss Tia off. I don't want to piss Haley off.
Yeah.
But if it's a dude, I don't think that they would give a crap.
Yeah, I can see that. At least in my experience, I feel like I'm more scared of the girls.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it goes kind of back to, you know, the whole conversation about getting volunteers to judge versus actually getting professional judges, kind of like what you guys were saying. And babe, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know like this much about sports, but in games, so if a team travels, the judges.
I don't want to be called out by Spiegel. I wouldn't want her to be mad at me either.
So if a team travels, does the refs travel with them, or are the refs stationary in said venues and then the teams come to them? So
that's the home cooking. Whoever's the away team is going to get shit because normally the referees are for the hometown team.
Okay, so it's the refs are in their spots and the teams come there.
Yeah.
So with the semifinals, if we're going to make this a sport and hold the judges maybe to a higher standard,
no way to do it because they're volunteers.
But that's my point though. Right now they're volunteers, but if we're going to try to make the sport more professional and have these judges be more professional, and like Jason was saying, like if we're going to hold one judge to one standard, we have to hold the next judge to the other standard. What if the fix is where you have judges that are stationary at these semifinals? Like, so for a syndicate, these are the judges, they're trained judges and whatever. Yeah, it's going to cost more money. CrossFit might not want to pay that, but that could be the thing that helps the judging be a little bit more, like to Jason's point, like even, where it's not someone that's judging so far off of how the other judges are judging.
And Jason, you can talk to this. I just think it's human nature, and every judge is going to have some sort of bias. Like if I was judging and Ellie was there or Tia was there or what, I'm going to be like, yeah, all your reps are good. I don't give a fuck. I'm not even watching.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's fine. There's just some sort of human element. Like even like for football, if a referee happens to go to that game and they fucking love the Cowboys, they're just going to be like, every penalty is against the 49ers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. So I know quite a lot of people that do judge. I mean, I know people that are from the UK, but have traveled to judge at Syndicate and have done like every week of semifinals. They've been somewhere, and those, I think you've got those that are really serious about it. Like it's almost like a career, but they're volunteers, but they take it so seriously. And I almost feel like for them, there's a sense of pride over like making sure that it doesn't matter who you are. The standard is the standard. This is kind of their catchphrase, right? The standard is the standard. It doesn't matter if you're Tia or if you're, Ellie, you're the same. Even if one of you's a minute ahead of the other, it doesn't matter. A no rep's a no rep. But I think it's very easy to have that in mind and to like even convince yourself that that's what you believe and that's how you feel. I don't think it's the athlete. I think it's the crowd and the people watching that intimidates them more. When you've got all those people in pink Hayley Adams shirts and you're the one about to call her on a no rep that's going to let somebody overtake her on an event and potentially cost her a spot to the games, like that's when pressure is there. But I mean, the problem is that like at the moment, as we said, they're all volunteers. They're all traveling. They're all doing, they're doing long days, and then they're also doing like experiences because they've paid all this money to get there. They've traveled there. They want to meet and greet people and spend time doing other stuff. So it's hard to, it is.
Yeah, there are refs there are judges that got canceled for a hot minute, right? Like they get videos made about them and they get canceled, and so they don't. Oh my, yeah, like you don't want a Hiller video made about you. You don't want a whatever video made about you. So, hey, I'm just going to shut up right now and do what I think is the best for me not to get canceled there.
I've seen a judge not come back to the next day of competition because a video was made about them basically, and then they didn't turn up the next day. So
okay, that shouldn't happen. Like that's just my opinion, but like I mean, I feel like there should be an understanding of the head judge can come and have a talk maybe with that judge and maybe remediate it for the next day. But like, I don't feel like we should be so brutal to the point that these people aren't coming back and they're volunteers. Like that's to me, that's just too much. But maybe I'm a softie. I don't know.
That's fine. We're all figuring out how to not be snowflakes, but sometimes it just
But I'm not against videos. I'm not against videos.
No. I get you, but yeah, that's a thing. I mean, that's an actual thing that you can talk about. Jason's not wrong. There's a certain social pressure at this point in time in this era that you're probably going to do what you think is not going to get you canceled.
Yeah.
So you want to answer this real quick? Oh, sorry. Jason, you're smart.
Well, I was also just going to say that I think it's really tough because it's not even like, when you think about in other sports, how many calls they're having to make. And quite often things are very clearly defined. Whereas in CrossFit, it's like you're going to do 10 reps of this and 20 reps of that. And it's every single rep that they need to be checking 2-3 different points for the, to work out whether or not that's been fully completed. And then, so like the box jumps we were talking about. So they've got to jump onto the box. They can't touch the box before they've, come back off. They can't step on the line. They've got to step off, not jump up. So the judge needs to be looking at like multiple different things to make sure that's happening. You've got to be checking that they've hit the bar above the rope before they've clamped, and like, but then as soon as they've hit it, they were allowed to have clamped. So like, where are your eyes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's
your hand or your legs,
and that is happening for every single repetition. So it's really tough to, so we're holding judges accountable. And also, maybe it's a 20-minute time cap on this workout. So they've been staring at this person for, 18 minutes at this point, watching rep after rep after rep. It's not easy to then, in a split second be like, oh, and maybe they're unsure as well. Like, oh, was it? So what do? Are you conservative and you say, well, I better call it just in case? Because if you call it and you're wrong, that's a problem. And if you don't call it and you should have, that's a different problem. So
Well, right now it's better to call no reps than reps, right? If you call a no rep and you're wrong, that's better for you than if you don't call a no rep at all. Socially,
Well,
right?
oh, is it?
It depends on how much people like the athlete that gets screwed. Truly.
There's a lot of nuances to this that just
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why there's so many conversations that can be had about it.
And when you
But-
think about,
I would be less mad. Oh, did you want to answer something, Ellie? Answer it. Tell me.
I was just gonna say to Bernie's point about people judges fraternizing with athletes. That is like kind of. I walked in at the briefing on the first day, and it's like you see people, some judges, or maybe it was just the event team, but I'm pretty sure it was some judges, like taking pictures with like Daniel Brandon and some of the really well-known athletes. And I get it. Like, why would you be volunteering if you didn't want to be around these athletes and look up to them, right? Like, I get it. But also, it's kind of like it plays head games with other people. Like, shoot, I got to be a lot more careful with my reps as opposed to maybe their fan favorite, right? And I don't know if that actually happens where they might favor someone just because they like them, but it's like
It's possible.
You wonder. I walked by being like, no one knows who I am. No one's gonna ask a picture. No one cares if they no rep me, but I would care as a judge if I no rep my favorite athlete.
you know what would be the ultimate power move is if they ask for a picture, and then they tell them, "Yes, we'll get it at the end of the."
I was just gonna say
end of competition if I still like you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Of having almost like a meet and greet available for the judges, for the
volunteers,
fans, and the volunteers with the athletes after the weekend is over. That way, athletes can decide if they want to do that, but not do it at beginning because, like Elle was saying, it's like a fine line of.
See, I don't know, because at the beginning, I'm like, I've already got your picture. I've put the post up on social media. Doesn't matter now. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
If you hate me, who cares? But if at the end I'm thinking, I still need to go and get her photo, and she's gonna be upset because I called it out.
I'm not getting a photo.
And I'm not getting a picture.
I would want a picture with Daniel Brandon, so I don't blame him.
That's the. I don't know. I mean, this is one of the things. Like, this is a weird little tangent, but I remember like listening to you guys speaking with Pedro when he was on, and you were talking about like him just reaching out to athletes and like how can you do that sort of. And I remember like at FitFest, that was the first time I'd seen the way fans treat some of these like very well known athletes, and like Daniel Brandon was there, so she was one of them, and I just couldn't believe like the fanboying kind of how it was, because I'm just not like that. I'll just have a conversation with them and be like, yeah, hi, how are you? Good. It's like nice. But
wait, like regular
people like
fans?
freaking out, like, oh, it's time, I'm gonna, and I just could not believe like how people act around.
Wait, like regular fans or media and
like people that regular people that traveled up to the event and they were like, I'm gonna go get a picture of Daniel Brandon.
Yeah, dude, you don't fanboy about anybody. You don't have like, if you freaking saw the Rolling Stones somewhere, you wouldn't be like, holy crap, I'm about to pass out.
He's another one. He's a John Young. He's got
no ice in your
No.
veins. Rich Froning, nothing. You wouldn't.
No, I think I'd want to like be able to engage them and speak like.
No,
and actually, like
like
some people, I struggle to approach them because I feel like I'm gonna just annoy them or disturb them, and I needed like a big kick at FitFest.
Yeah, that's a fanboy thing though. But
no, but more it was like, I just want to like they're getting ready. I'll just leave them because I would have done the same.
You don't want to do it.
Any athlete that was
they answer you back,
ready.
are you like, holy crap, they answered me back?
No, I had a camera and I filmed it all, and then I made a video.
No, I know, but like when they responded to you and they're like, "Hey, let's go," like, I'm super cool with this video. You weren't like, "Oh my god," they just are fine with me videoing them and like.
No, because I think they're probably aware that like I always think back to Brent Fikowski's All In video where he's asking people if they know who Brent Fikowski is, and they're like, no, we don't know who. Or someone even said, yeah, I think I do know who he is. And he's like, you clearly don't, because that's me.
Yeah.
So I think people that are big names in CrossFit are also aware that CrossFit is still quite small and niche in the grand scheme of things. And
Mhm.
so CrossFit famous and famous are two different things.
Yeah, CrossFit famous is still fire though.
When CrossFit is like your everything, like for a lot of these people, CrossFit is all consuming. Like the only podcast I listen, some of the only podcasts I listen to a CrossFit podcast, right? And it's like this consumes so much of my life, I'm sure for so many other people. So it's like when you see these people, even for myself as an athlete, it is kind of like for someone who's obsessed with basketball, when they see their it's like our Michael Jordans, you know? So I get where you're coming from, but also it's like, even for me, I'm like, y'all asked me yesterday, do I fangirl? No, but like, it is really cool for me. Like in the cool down, I got to like talk to Danielle Brandon a little bit. She's really cool. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. Like I'm talking to Danielle Brandon, you know? And so I think that, yeah, like it's kind of like, it depends on how much you care about CrossFit, I guess, how much you're going to fangirl.
Make sure you say hi to Bernie Gannon wherever you see him, because he's not going to be able to say hello to you.
Is he there?
What? I don't know
Is
if
he
he's there, but he's saying I'd be afraid to say hello to Ellie Hiller. I'd probably forget my own name.
Please, someone say hey to me so I'm like, no one even knows who I am. I would love to have someone come up to me.
Oh,
That'd be
Holly,
awesome.
cute dog. I used to have a dog that looked just like that. Her name was Lily. That picture, that's
Mm.
literally like
The
looking at
ears.
yeah, for sure. I'm so awkward. I just admire from a very safe distance, far away. No, go say hi. Fine. Go say hi. I'm learning how to go say hi too. But for me, it'd be stand-up comics and CrossFit people. Like Jason, if you were like walking down the street and I saw you before having talked to you already, I would not be able to like come up. I'd be like, oh shit, Jason CF Media.
I don't believe you.
Like, no, you do. Cause yeah, no, you do, you know.
She absolutely fangirled
Yeah.
when we met Hiller.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Yes.
And when Ellie answered me back and was like, yeah, sure, that'd be awesome. I was like, okay, cool.
I'm
Like,
pretty sure I friended you first on Instagram.
you did.
Well, Bill Grunler kind of was teasing us when we got him to join us on. He's like, why are you guys like so giddy? I'm like, we have to fangirl first. We've listened to you guys for so long.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you guys are willing to take the time to talk to us. And yeah, it's through a screen. Obviously, in person would be way different, but the fact that you take the time or whatever, we all have to fangirl a little first, and then we get to the conversation. But it's just like, holy crap, like we're meeting people like Ellie, you're saying, like that you've looked up to, that you've seen in such a public space for so long, and then holy crap, now they're like across the screen from you. Like holy shit, crazy.
All right, I promised Jason this would be like not his entire freaking night for the whole world. So Ellie, tomorrow, real quick, event 4, you got 400-meter row, handstand walk, 600-meter row, handstand walk, blah, blah, blah. Fun for you, not fun for you.
Yeah, I really like that event. The handstand walk balances out the rowing. So if you're a fast handstand walker, I think you can really make up a lot of time, even if you row a lot slower than people. So I really like handstand walking, but I would argue like some of the top 3 best handstand walkers are here. You have Alexis Raptis, you have Danielle Brandon, Annika Greer is really fast on her hands. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to put up killer times. So I'm excited for that event though. I think I can do good in that one. So
awesome.
And it's not too leg heavy. It's hand heavy. They're letting you run on your hands instead of your feet. So that'll be nice.
I don't know, Jason. Maybe it's just me, but when I tested that, I was like, my legs are blowing up.
Yeah, the row is going to hurt your legs.
Yeah, it's essentially a 2K. Like you're rowing a 2K for time with a little bit of a break in between. I mean, it's 1,800 meters, but golly, it hurt my legs so bad. That last 800, you're going to see some pain faces on people.
It's been interesting watching people take on the workout at the different semifinals and those that have won it, because there have been those that have won it on the handstand walk because they're so fast, but there have also been people that have clearly won it on the row. They've been consistent with the handstand walk, but they've been faster on the row, and that's won it for them. So it doesn't feel like there's a definite kind of answer as to where it's won or lost. And so, I mean, ideally you're good at both, and then it gets done. But yeah,
I think that's the only event Tia's not going to win. I think she'll win every single event except for that one.
Wad Zombie hot take.
And on that note,
we've talked about
ready for tomorrow.
We've talked about event 5,
which just says a lot. That's how good Danielle Brandon is on her hands. So
she's really freaking fast on her hands. We've talked about event 5, squat snatch. You're most looking forward to showing.
Maybe I'll PR. I'm excited, but we'll see if my legs have anything in it.
I was
but-
gonna say your legs after that first one.
Mhm.
Yeah, 165 is my 1 rep, so I'll have to hit that 4 times. But I'm the kind of athlete that every time I hit a PR, I'll hit it 5 times. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like,
So you've got one spare. You
Huh?
only need to hit it 4. You've got one spare. You only need to hit it 4 times. So.
yeah, like that open workout a few years ago, I PR'd at 155 and I hit it like 8 times. So
Yeah.
hey, maybe we'll channel it for tomorrow and I'll PR twice, but we'll see what happens. So
There you go.
See, that's why I pick Heat 1 app with my heart, not my head. And then the last one, this one I'm super looking forward to the most for like all the heats, but the 4-time 30 cal echo bike, 15 muscle ups, and then the dumbbell walking lunge.
oh, that one's gonna be so fun. And I actually really
She's
like
lying.
that workout.
She doesn't think that's gonna be fun. I just saw her legs blow up.
Yeah, my legs they're gonna be so trash at that point. But honestly, like at the end of the weekend, I'm kind of like, depending on where my placement is, I might take a risk in that one. Like when in training, I did everything. I did the ring muscle ups unbroken. But obviously everything feels different in competition. So I might just come out hot. I have nothing to lose. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I had a good time on that one in training. Like that was one of my better events. So we'll see what happens.
Good strategy. Just
Which one are you most looking forward to out of the 3?
Tomorrow, yeah. Honestly, the handstand walk, and then the last event, and then the snatch ladder. So,
Yeah.
I have
Of
tiny
course,
hands.
the snatch ladder's the last. The last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one will be fun to cheer everyone else on. No, I'm kidding.
All right, Jason, anything else before we
No, I mean I'm going to be watching it tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ellie does. The greatest healer within CrossFit, as we've said, as I've said.
Yeah. Wad Zombie, I'll cheer your name in the chat tomorrow, Ellie. I think everybody, I mean, basically you've been getting cheered on in the broadcast, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. So it's been a lot of fun to watch you, girl. I really appreciate this so much. It's been an amazing weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not just saying it. I really appreciate you guys having me on. It means a lot for me. It's one thing to me, this is what I enjoy, like connecting with people and like being able to meet like Jason and then obviously you guys. Like this is what's fun. I do CrossFit honestly for the people I meet. So thanks for giving me an opportunity and letting me come on. So
everybody reach out to Ellie Hiller. This is what I do. I bring people together. I bring JasonCFMedia and make him stay up all night. I'm sorry. Please tell your wife and kids. My bad.
My kids are sleeping. That's fine.
Okay. Well, then tell your wife my bad, because I'm always more scared of the wife than I am of the husband. So I'm less afraid of your husband, Ellie, than I am afraid of Jason's wife being pissed at me. So.
I mean, this goes back to your theory about judges. And
Yeah, women. I'm more scared of women. Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I guess I just wanted to ask Ellie, going back to like the conversation before when you were talking about these athletes, like being on the floor then with Tia and Haley and all of these ones. How has that? Do you feel like has that elevated your view of yourself? Because we looked at it kind of as a negative, that we could feel like, oh, I'm not up to that level, and I'm never going to be, I can't beat Tia in a workout. But at the same time, like, do you? Because you're like now coming on this show, and then people are cheering you on in the chat, and there's this, you're being treated for all intents and purposes the same way Tia is being treated at this event. Does it sort of change the way you view yourself as an athlete in that regard at all?
That's a good way to frame it, Jason. Honestly, I haven't thought about it like that. And it really does. Like, I think if you're a competitor, you want to compete against the best. Like, comparing this experience to when I went to Atlas 2 years ago, yeah, Emma Lawson was there and Paige Powers. But now being here with, like, so many good girls, I'll get to tell my kids one day, like, hey, I competed against, like, the 7-time fittest woman on earth. And, like, to me, like,
she called it that she's already going to win the games this year. Ellie, you said it. Hot take. Wad Zombie.
100%.
Fire
So,
emoji.
yeah, like, that's a really good, yes, Jason. I'm like, although I'm not like, I have expectations, oh my gosh, these are the best women in the world. And so it's just it's so hard to get here too, that I'm like, yeah, you have to think of it that way, because it's true. Like,
Yeah, and then that can fuel you for next year. You
100%. Yeah, and you see where you can you can watch them and see where you can pick up things that they do that like can be that 1%. Like, you might not never ever have their talent, but it gives you hope too that you can one day like why not me, like be as good as some of those top 15 girls.
Ooh, let's get that shirt. Why not me? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Vindicate, get on that.
Where's Vindicate? He's not in the chat.
Poor Vindicate. He's got so many shirts
got
he's making
so
right now. I'm
many
not even
shirts.
trying to bother Vindicate. Like, Vindicate's a good
He's
dude.
got so many shirts.
All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. We're just trying to have fun. We're figuring this out. Like I said, I texted or I DM'd Jason like 5 minutes beforehand, like, hey, please. And it was super fun. I'm so glad we got to do this new learning experience and a lot of fun. Ellie will be there all day tomorrow too, whether it's in my car or at work or whatever. We'll be there tomorrow too. So
Awesome.
Rest up, have the best day tomorrow, and soak it all in. If nothing else,
go
soak
get it,
it
girl.
in.
We're
Soak
super
it in,
pumped
yep.
for you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
guys.
guys.
Nice to meet you, Jason.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
No, hang out. Don't go anywhere. Glidden things. We out.
Bye.
Deuces.